Good evening and welcome back. Thanks for joining us on KTN Weekend Prime. We continue with our focus on the Global Entrepreneurship Summit that was an ideal platform for high net worth business leaders to mingle and get business propositions they can invest in. Our senior business reporter Aby Agina was at the heart of the action in Gigiri. He spoke to a number of the business leaders to find out some of the areas they will be putting their money in.
Well, it has been an eventful day here at the United Nations headquarters here in Gigiri, where President Barack Obama officially opened the 6th Global Entrepreneurship Summit. A host of business leaders are attending this year's summit, and we got the opportunity to speak to a number of them. Among the business leaders we got a chance to interact with is the founder of America Online, Mr. Steve Case, who had interesting perspectives around how Africa can borrow from America, especially on the IT front. He also speaks quite a lot about internet penetration in Africa, saying the levels haven't reached what Africa can attain. Well, let's listen in on that interview.
The internet really has been a game changer. It has leveled the playing field. Smartphones and other kinds of phones in different parts of the world have given people access they never otherwise would have had. And we're still in the early days of figuring out all the new possibilities of that new platform, the marriage of the internet technology, the network, and phones. And I think in the next decade you're going to see all kinds of innovation all around the world. And there's no reason it can't be in places like Nairobi. And there's no reason that entrepreneurs in Nairobi can't just serve the Kenyan market or the African market. They also can serve the global market, and we're already seeing entrepreneurs breaking through and doing that, and I think you'll see a lot more in the years to come. We're seeing entrepreneurship globalize. It's great startups being built all over the world, and certainly many in Africa and certainly many in Kenya. And the fact that Nairobi is really hosting this Global Entrepreneurship Summit, thousands of people from all over the world are here, including President Obama, I think really sends a signal that Africa's open for business, that Kenya's on the move, that the startup scene in Nairobi is quite robust. I think it's a very encouraging sign for this whole region. About 5 years ago, you started seeing an acceleration of investment from private equity funds focused on infrastructure and more mature businesses. I think the next 5 years you're going to see much more interest in the early stage entrepreneurial businesses, the startups, and that's really going to be our focus. We've invested in several companies already in this area. One is Brick, which is doing energy in remote villages, another is Sanergy, doing sanitation, but we also have invested in several funds, angel funds, including the Africa Angels Network and Village Capital that's focused on investing in Africa. So we really do believe the opportunity is significant, and I think more and more investors from around the world are going to recognize they're great entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, but they're also great entrepreneurs in Nairobi, and you'll see more capital coming to Nairobi in the years to come.
My name is Nick Nesbitt, and I am General Manager of IBM Eastern Africa. From an education standpoint, today IBM is announcing a $60 million investment in skills upgrading in Africa. Primarily, that investment is going to be made in 80 universities across Africa, of which about 50 plus or minus will be in Kenya alone. Going along with that investment, we are partnering with KENET, Kenya Education Network, which is think of it as a telecommunications network that connects 50 universities. We will deliver IBM technology, IBM courses for free to students and lecturers on those campuses. We will train the lecturers on the technology. We have over 1,000 people already in the universities in which we've begun training, and close to 100 lecturers that we've already trained. This is just the beginning.
Leslie, and I'm chairman of the United States African Development Foundation. There are so many things happening in Kenya that are really laying a foundation for economic growth. And you know, 50% of the jobs in this country, and in most countries, but in 50% of both the jobs and 50% of GDP are created by small and medium-sized enterprises. So the extent to which Kenya is creating a climate that really allows those kinds of smaller companies to grow is how it's going to drive its growth, and it's going to create jobs and opportunities for Kenya. We now have about 325 projects in 18 sub-Saharan African countries. The total value of the portfolio is about $54 million. In Kenya, we've been very involved for the last 5 years, and were involved before oil and gas was discovered there, but up in Turkana. One of the missions of USADF is to work in very marginalized areas, and Turkana, in large part because of its location, its remote location, really had not received much assistance. And so we made a multi-year commitment to go up there, and we're doing 3 different kinds of projects: irrigation for farming, livestock management, primarily goats, and fisheries in Lake Turkana. And they've been very successful. We're into the 3rd year of that program, and we're very pleased with it. The other thing we're doing in Kenya, working with GE, is to fund, we created something called an off-grid energy challenge, where we're going to fund 50 entrepreneurs over a 5-year period. We'll give each of them $100,000 as startup money towards developing innovative ways to address off-grid energy issues or solutions. And a number of, I think we have at least 3 or 4 that I can think of right now, of these projects have come from Kenya. So we're involved heavily in Kenya.
We've done a lot of interviews by now, looking at some of the challenges that young innovators face and young entrepreneurs face is access to capital. But I believe you have a different way of looking at things. Just share with us some of the other alternatives that entrepreneurs can look at, rather than keep on complaining that banks do not have products for them. How can they tackle this?
Well, first of all, access to capital is a real issue, but it depends on how much capital you want. First of all, you should make affordable next steps. You know, I started off with 1 hat, and then I sold 2, and then I sold 10, then I sold 20. You don't need to start off with 1,000, number 1. Number 2 is, because of technology, there are ways that you can go out and put a product out there. People will prepay for the product if you can deliver the product within 30 days, and they pay full margin for it, not wholesale, and you take that money and make sure you can deliver it to your customer. Then we also have crowdsourcing platforms that are out there. Also, OPM, everybody always talks about other people's money, but you can make money off of other people's manufacturing, other people's mind power, other people's marketing, and always off of other people's mistakes. Sometimes create strategic relationships with people that are not in your business but close to your business, and find ways to make money then. Don't always just look at, if I only had $1. You don't necessarily need that.
Speaking about if I only had $1, looking at some of the other issues that crop up for young innovators and young entrepreneurs is that majority of them try to go for the big projects. At the same time, they haven't assessed really whether they can handle it or not. Maybe I want to get your closing thoughts around this.
Don't go for the big one. The key to being an entrepreneur is 2 things. First of all, do what you're absolutely obsessed at and that you love, and also take affordable steps, because if you're doing what you love, then unfortunately, if you don't make a lot of money, you'll have an amazing time doing it. And if you take affordable steps, you won't have to pay for it for the rest of your life.
Indeed, it has been a great kickoff to this year's Global Entrepreneurship Summit. A lot of optimism among the entrepreneurs as well as the investors. Majority of them saying they are committed when it comes to ensuring that they end up striking alliances with some of the entrepreneurs who are showcasing some of their businesses to them. We'll be keeping an eye for you and just giving you a breakdown of what this means for the economy and for you back at home. My name is Aby Agina. For today, this brings us to the close of our coverage. Back to you in studio.